You know how it feels, right? Like when you're just grinding away at a goal, you're exhausted, maybe a little irritable,
Oh, yeah, totally.
and you keep telling yourself, like, I'll be happy once I get that promotion, or, once I finish this massive project, then I can finally relax.
Right. It is basically the ultimate modern trade-off. We essentially auction off our present-day sanity for just the mere promise of some future happiness.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a fascinating stack of sources you sent over. Articles, videos, and your own personal notes, all centered on the teachings of Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover.
Our mission today is to figure out how to balance ambition with inner peace. Like, how do you actually chase your goals without making yourself absolutely miserable in the process? So, okay, let's unpack this. Tolle starts by completely redefining the concept of stillness.
Right, because usually when we hear that word, we picture someone sitting in total silence, maybe meditating on a cushion. We just assume it means hitting the pause button on life. But Tolle argues that stillness is actually a connection to what he calls the being dimension.
The being dimension.
Yeah, and to put that simply, it's a state of pure, open awareness. It is experiencing the world without that constant, noisy mental chatter that's always labeling and judging everything around you.
So you don't actually have to freeze in place to find it. You can maintain that pure awareness while moving or working and acting in the world.
Exactly. Which brings us into what Tolle calls the realm of doing.
Okay?
Having goals is perfectly healthy, though he does joke that, by the time you reach age 95, pursuing them becomes increasingly pointless.
Fair enough.
But he points out a severe danger. When a desired outcome completely absorbs your attention, every single step you take simply becomes a means to an end.
Oh, like the analogy he uses,
Yeah.
the 6-hour mountain hike. Imagine someone who is so desperate to reach the peak in record time that they are just frantically checking their watch every 5 minutes.
Yeah, they completely miss the beautiful flowers, the crisp air, and the incredible scenery along the way.
It is like having a camera lens that is permanently stuck, focusing on the distant horizon. Everything right in front of you, the actual path you're walking on, the people around you, it all becomes blurry and disorienting.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. And that blurred, frantic focus turns the entire journey into a toxic experience.
Wow.
The person consumed by the peak isn't just miserable themselves, they radiate that stress to everyone around them. And they act this way because of a psychological mechanism we're all taught from childhood: delayed gratification.
Right, which we're always told is a good thing.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that delaying gratification actually works incredibly well at first.
Like how?
Well, think of a young student who stays into study, right? While their neighbor wants immediate gratification and goes out partying. The student delays their joy and eventually gets their degree.
Okay, but wait. Here's where it gets really interesting. If we abandon delayed gratification entirely, won't we just lose our drive and stop achieving anything? Like, if I don't care about the destination, why am I even walking up the mountain to begin with?
It is a great question. But it assumes we only have two settings: obsession or apathy. Tolle isn't saying you shouldn't have a direction.
Okay, so what is the trap then?
The trap of delayed gratification isn't the goal itself. It's that the mindset secretly morphs into a permanent psychological default. You never actually allow yourself to feel gratified.
Oh, I see.
You reach the peak of that mountain, feel a brief rush of relief, and instead of enjoying it, you immediately point to the next mountain. And you just delay your happiness all over again.
So how do we actually fix that? Because finding joy in something like, I don't know, writing a tedious expense report or folding laundry sounds practically impossible.
It really comes down to shifting your attention away from the timeline and into the sensory reality of the action. You have to anchor your mind. Take washing the dishes, for example.
Okay, washing dishes.
If your mind is screaming like, I need an empty sink so I can go watch TV, you are in a state of resistance. The dishes are just an obstacle.
Right.
But if you shift your focus to the mechanics of the action, feeling the warmth of the water, listening to the sound of the plates, feeling the movement of your hands, you trigger presence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You find gratification in the practice itself long before the task is actually done.
So what does this all mean? It really shifts your perspective when you realize that your daily tasks aren't just annoying obstacles standing in the way of your life. They literally are your life.
Exactly. If the whole journey is just a miserable commute to an imaginary finish line, you are entirely missing the only reality you actually have, the present moment.
Think about that frantic hiker racing to the top of the mountain. If you successfully force yourself through decades of stress, impatience, and delayed joy just to reach some final destination, will you even know how to be happy once you finally get there?